What is going on, guys? Jay Hoyt back with you today. I am bringing you the 10th episode of the Be a GM series. So in last video, we had the 9th episode where our stars, the first line, whatever you want to call them, were struggling. So I don't know if I did show you or not, but MacArthur, Turris, and Bobby Ryan were struggling. So we didn't really know what to do. But we got up to the end of the regular season, and we came to the point where we made the playoffs, and we're going against the Detroit Red Wings once again. Last year, if you don't remember, if you haven't watched the videos, go back and watch them. Highly recommended. But if not, then I'll give you a spoiler alert. We did lose 4-2. But this time, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to make the right decision. And I did go out and hire myself an assistant GM. Now, as I did this, I had a weird upload schedule last week, and this is why. My brother came home, and he's home for the summer for the most part, and he's going to be here with me. He is my new assistant GM, and welcome home, Chris. How you doing?
Thanks, boss. Pretty good. Excited to start my new role with the team, and look forward to some success here in the playoffs 2016.
Well, that's good. I hope you're here for a long time, but as we say this, let's get right into the simulation. Let's hope we win. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the playoff system I use, we do turn on injuries, and we do turn off goalie rotations. But the one guy, wow, 2 goals right away. But the one guy I was having a lot of questions about was Mike Richards. Now, Chris, I know you saw the stats before the game, and as I say this, Mike Richards comes out strong with 2 goals in the first period.
You know, Mike Richards in real life washed up in L.A. and, you know, right here, I mean, you got three goals in your first 9 shots. So, obviously doing very well. Now 4 goals on 13 shots with Mark Stone putting one away there in the third period. Pretty much wrapping this game up. But, you know, you got to rely on your veterans when it comes to playoff time. They got the most experience on the team. You can't exactly rely on your young guys. And there's another great example with Danny Heatley and Zach Smith stepping up. They both have plenty of playoff experience, so you got to rely on those old guys there when it comes down to crunch time, and that's what happened when you're 6-1 victory.
Well, there's a lot of goals there with by I don't even remember who scored at this point. So let's go back and check. Well, actually, I'll go to the game report or whatever you want to call it afterwards to check this for sure. But Richards getting his first and his second later on. Carlson obviously stepping up. Stone, I like that line a lot. Then Tatar by Cronwall gets a goal in there to ruin the shutout. But penalties, not too many, so that's pretty good. But it doesn't look like we have any injuries as far as I can see. Nobody really with odd playing time. But as we go into the second game, hopefully, and we're also on the road too. I didn't think I mentioned that. But going into game 2, how can we look to continue our offense on the road?
Well, I think it's huge getting a big victory on the road in game 1. I mean, coming out with 6 goals, that's pretty huge, especially with a shutout going into the third period. And you start off well right there again with a goal by Weirkoch. But, you know, I think scoring first is really important in the playoffs, too. You know, usually the first goal typically tends to win the game. So, I mean, getting that first goal is big, and then a 6-1 victory on the road and come back out with the first goal in the second game, pretty huge. I mean, Detroit's got it tied right now, and then they go ahead. Datsuk, you know, great player in real life and apparently on video games. Then you got a tie going to the third period. You'll have to see what happens here, but either way, getting a split on the road is perfect. And if you can win this second one too, that's even bigger.
So a goal right by the veteran, and then the young guy, and then a young guy yet again scoring late really definitely helps us. Nyquist gets 1 on the power play, but it might be just as I say that, 5-4. Can we hold on here? We can. 5-4 victory on the road. So back-to-back games, we have 11 goals compared to 5. So if we keep outscoring this team, I think we'll definitely contribute to the rest of the playoffs. But looking at penalties once again, it looks like we had a little bit more penalties than last game. But a couple of their guys, I'm not sure if it was just because of the situation on the ice or if somebody got injured to result in that. But again, we kind of got the same thing. So it might have just been the situations going into the game that a lot of our guys had reduced playing time. But now we go home, going to game 3 at home. Who can we look for? Who do you think is going to be the star of this game?
You know, I think Mark Stone and Danny Heatley. I think they're both. Well, actually, Heatley's on the third line, I believe, and you got Stone on the second line. So once again, your top line not really getting it done that much, but Stone and Heatley each with 2 goals each in the first 2 games. So I look for those middle lines to keep going and continue your depth scoring that you have here going the first 2 games of the playoffs.
Now, here's a question I was mentioning to my viewers before I hired you, Chris. Now, I was saying how Clark MacArthur and that first line wasn't performing.
Mark Stone again.
Yeah, the second and third lines, Hoffman also playing on the second line. The second and third line seems to be performing more than the first line. So do you think we should make a line change going into Game 4 and maybe closing the series out, going into the second round and leading up against all this scoring power? But we do get 2 goals by the first line, might I mention.
I think right now you got the chemistry going. Richards as well scoring so far. You got the chemistry going ridiculously right now. I mean, however realistic that is in a video game. But, I like the way your lines are playing right now, and I don't think you should make any changes going into any games so far. I mean, you're up 3-0. You got 5 goals in every single game so far. So, I don't think you should make any changes. I think you just keep rolling with what you got right now. Anderson's playing fine in net. Maybe an injury there for Detroit, Jonathan Erickson. That'd be huge, playing on the top line and their defense. But I think you're playing well. I wouldn't make any changes if I were you, honestly.
Okay, well, it does look like they did get an injury. I will go confirm that in just a second. But going into Game 4, I'm going way too far ahead here. Mark Stone leading the way in goals. Bobby Ryan, we did see you get a goal last game, but we definitely need more from that first line if we want them, or if we want to make a really, really deep playoff push. Now, I know the depth players usually get the most points or get majority of the points, and I don't even know where I'm going at this point. I'm looking for injuries, but I can't seem to find them right away. But here we go. Obviously, we don't have any injuries, but we are going to go check Detroit because I do believe they don't. Oh, no, they do. Mild concussion. I'm not sure exactly what date we are on, but April 26th. It does look to be about a week. So if they do, they'll probably get him back for Game 7 if it makes it that far. But up 3-0, we're looking to close this out. But scoring 5 goals, like Chris said, in every game so far. Do you see that continuing in Game 4?
I don't know if you'll score as much, but your scoring prowess seems to be going pretty well so far. I think you put up at least 3 or 4 goals and probably put this series away in either this game or the next game, because as for having the same record in the regular season, Detroit ain't putting up much of a fight so far.
Yeah, just like you said, and I think in the last game, that usually the team that scores first wins the game. But Tatar, I believe it was, scored first for Detroit. However, I think in every game so far, we are getting outshot as Zetterberg scores the second goal. But we are getting outshot in majority of the game, so it's kind of strange to see that we are putting up so many goals. However, we do lose Game 4. Kind of unfortunate. What went wrong in this series? Let's go find out. Besides getting outshot, I don't see why, unless we had an injury of some sort that I don't see. It looks like they had a bunch of penalties to start off in the first period, but in the second period, once they scored the goal, we seemed to went on a penalty fury. It does look like Zach Smith went down. However, that's a fourth-line center, so it doesn't seem to be too big of a loss. But obviously, those third and fourth-line players are huge. So Zach Smith out with an injured shoulder. So this leads to the question of who we're going to call up. Now, I think there's no really question about this, that we are going to bring up Curtis Lazar. I don't think... would that be your decision here?
Yeah, I'd probably say so. If not Lazar, definitely Jean-Gabriel Pageau. You're losing Zach Smith, probably a penalty killer for you. Can skate playing on the fourth line, which is what you want nowadays, whether it be in real life or in a video game. So, Lazar can play the same role, not quite as effectively because Smith has more experience, but can step in quite easily there and center the fourth line with Condra and Greening.
So going into Game 5, we are coming off the 2-0 loss. Now scoring 5 goals in the first 3 games. Well, I should say 5 goals per game, except for the first game we had 6. But Game 5, we are going back to Detroit. Now in the first 2 games, we scored 11 goals versus Jimmy Howard. Do you think we can really come back Game 5 and score as many goals to end this series, to make it not go to Game 7?
I think you guys can bounce back. You played well on the road the first time, going back to Detroit in Game 5. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to play well here in Detroit. Yurko getting the first goal there for them, but... I think your team should be doing fine. Anderson's still playing well. They're still out shooting you. Well, quite even this game, but just gotta get 2 goals here, even one, to send it in overtime and come back in the rest of this game.
All right, so I did just pause it, but we are only out shooting them by 1 shot at the moment. But who do you if we get a goal here, who do you think it's gonna be by? Who's gonna step up and win this game for us?
Hasn't scored in the past couple games, but I like Mark Stone. I think he's played well for you this series. I think he could be an X factor, in this game to tie it or maybe even take a lead here late in the third period.
All right, well, let's see as we continue the simulation. We easily go on a power play, shorthanded goal by Carlson. So maybe Stone will come up and score that second goal for us to send it to round 2, I should say. Now, going into overtime, we are leading them by 4 shots. But I do still think that line of Hoffman, Zibanejad, and Stone will get it done. If not the third line, they're both playing excellent this series, but a little bit quiet in the last game. So hopefully, as soon as I say that, just about a minute in, Nyquist puts it in. So 2-1 loss for us. What do you think went wrong there?
Obviously Anderson's still playing well. When you've lost, you haven't let out a lot of goals, so it's not really a problem there. So I'm wondering where your offense is. It kind of, after scoring 16 goals the first 3 games, the next 2 you've scored 1 goal combined. So I'm wondering where your offense went. I'm wondering if you guys are sick or something, if they got scoring fever and just decided to stop. But we'll have to see going in here to Game 6, trying to close it out at home now.
Yeah, I did stay over it for just a second, but it did look like Chiasson did get injured, but it doesn't seem to pop up to be a major injury, so hopefully he's fine and ready to go. Now, obviously, it did notify us to that, but Game 6, going back home, again, we need to score, because the last couple games, we have not scored. We've scored 1 goal in the past 2 games. We got to step it up here. But every game we seem to be getting outshot, but this game we start out with a fury, 12 shots to 4.
I think it's important to get some shots on the net early. Nyquist scoring there soon into the second period, but it's about getting pucks to the net. You gotta get pucks to the net to be able to score, and you gotta put them in the back of the net to win. So it's looking like it's gonna go to a Game 7, which kind of stinks, but maybe your guys can pull it together in this third period and try to make a comeback.
Now, usually in this series, as Mantha scores a 4th goal, we do get outshot, but this game we are outshooting them, and they're just lighting up the lamp 5-0. Now, I don't know what is going on, but we are going to Game 7, and we only have 1 goal in the past 3 games. I don't know what to do here. We do still take more penalties. Now, Lazar is playing a lot less minutes than usual, so maybe we do have an injury. I'm not sure. I didn't even check if they have any injuries, but it does look like they'll have, who was it, Erickson, I believe, that went out in the first couple games. So he'll probably be back for Detroit. That's a huge advantage for them. However, Zach Smith is back in the lineup for us, as Curtis Lazar may be injured, but it doesn't look like it because he is back in. So they're both injured, so I'm going to put Smith back in the lineup only because he's a better overall in this situation. I think he's going to, being more of a veteran than Lazar, being a rookie, getting that playoff experience in, I believe that will help us in the playoff, or in the Game 7, I should say. But at least it's gone longer than last year where we lost 4-2. So it does look like, if you look at the top of the message center, that Jonathan Erickson will be back in the lineup. So a little biased hockey analyst there saying whoopee, yippee, they're back. But Game 7, I am going to check the stats really quick just to see if there's certain players that aren't performing. Because Mark Stone, like we said, had 4 goals, I believe, in the first 3 games or something like that. And it seemed to be working for us. But now he's gone pretty quiet. So, okay. I don't know if you noticed this right away, Chris, but Zibanejad had 0 points playing on the second line. However, Mike Richards does have 3 goals. I believe they were in like 2 games or so. So Lazar and Zibanejad both have 0 points there. Once again, Clark MacArthur not doing anything on that first line. 1 point is still helpful, but not nearly as helpful as we need to. Hoffman definitely putting up points like we need. Obviously, these two are struggling, but 4 goals by Stone, that's huge. Ryan seems to be putting up points, which is good. Jacob Trouba getting on that third line. I'm hoping for a little bit more points, but Spiza, 4 points. I'm very happy to see that. Anderson, obviously, our only goalie so far. He's allowed 14 goals in 6 games. Hopefully, he can improve that in Game 7. Now, I don't think I mentioned it yet, but our AHL team did make the playoffs. I don't remember who they're facing, but we're more focused on the NHL team. But going into Game 7, who are we looking for to score these points?
Josh, nobody's scored for you recently. I don't know who you can look for to score. It looks like right now that Detroit's about to complete this 3-0 comeback on your team, which would obviously be awful, a way to end the season. But I think your first 2 lines really have to step up. There's Carlson with a goal. I believe that's his 4th of the postseason. And, right back at it with Detroit answering. I think you got to look at those top 2 lines, just get a goal here in the third period for you, at least send it to overtime or something.
Yeah, like you said, the top lines definitely need to perform. Hoffman and Stone seem to be performing, but getting it to the middle of the ice in Zibanejad is huge, because Zibanejad is a great playmaker, I believe. Even though I think he's listed as a 2-way forward on the game. I'm not sure why. But going into the third period, we definitely need those veterans, those young guys, everybody, the top line, the coach, the water boy, everybody to step up in this period. So we are only getting outshot by 1. So if anything's left in the tank, Ottawa fans or Ottawa Senators or whoever is cheering for Ottawa in this series, let's hopefully get them going. So let's unpause it. Let's get going. Let's not start out the period on a 5-on-3 power play. We really need that. Nyquist add another nail to this victory. Whoa, they're not so fast. Zach Smith coming back from injury, and it does okay with the empty net goal. So it does look like we do fall 4-2 in Game 7. Detroit obviously played very well if they came back from 3-0 to win it to 4-3 in the series. I'm not sure what happened in that series with the Senators. It does look like Condra ended the game early with a boarding major, probably because he's angry. But it does look like he injured Erickson or something on that play, so maybe that'll hurt him in the next round. But going into the offseason, I do have a bunch of questions for our team. So that's not good for us at all. So I'm going to simulate a day afterward, or a couple days afterwards, just to get the stats all perfect. And yeah, the kind of performance you're looking for, I don't believe that at all. But going into the stats, who do you think really struggled? Because I know we just checked them, but who do you think definitely should have stepped up for us?
I mean, you look at Zibanejad and MacArthur, 2 guys playing on the top 2 lines. Zibanejad pointless in 7 games. That's huge. And Richards having as many points as Turris. You want Turris to step up as well, only 3 points in the 7 games. But I think, like I said, especially you look at Zibanejad and Clark MacArthur only ended up with 1 point. I think that's huge. And you'll have to decide their fate going into the offseason here.
Yeah, I definitely said it before, and I'll probably say it again right before the offseason and going into the offseason video, how I was questioning Clark MacArthur with his struggles during the regular season, only getting 1 point in the playoffs, like you said. But 4 goals by Stone. I definitely think that second line kind of performed, but definitely struggling with the points in the middle of the ice. But Lazard, he was only in for 2 games, but either way, he probably should have put up a point or 2. Helping out. I know he's playing the 4th line, but Zach Smith, 2 goals. He came back in Game 7 with a goal, which definitely helped. But like you said, Turris, only 3 points. Richards, the big question mark for me, had 3 goals, which definitely helped, but definitely needed more out of that first line. I definitely believe we will be making a couple moves during the offseason, so it probably will be a cut-up video. But looking at our defense, definitely a big help by Carlson. 4 goals. Definitely look to him to be on top of the scoreboard. But Trouba, no points. That definitely did not help very much. But goalies, Anderson, can't say enough about him, but I definitely think he struggled in this series. But we'll go to a season wrap-up in this video. I know it's going to be a little bit longer. I'll have to edit out a little bit of it. But just the postseason, it was just crazy. I will simulate all the way to the end of the season, so you can see all the end of the season awards and all that good stuff, and you can see who won the Stanley Cup and the Calder Cup to watch the AHL team. Hopefully, Binghamton goes all the way and wins the Calder Cup.
You know, I mean, I guess Binghamton winning the Calder Cup would be a nice consolation prize on your season. As I said earlier, it's tough to lose a series after being up 3-0, scoring a ton of goals there. And it looks like Binghamton just lost, as I don't see they have a game on Saturday. So both teams out in the first round. It gives you a longer off season, even a better chance to ponder the future of your players here. But we'll have to see who goes on to win in both leagues here, and hopefully for your sake it's not Detroit in the NHL.
Yeah, definitely, like you said, we don't want to see that Detroit loses. But on that note, we will see you in just a second as it simulates, and I'll cut it so you don't have to wait nearly as long. So we will see you in a second. We're back, and we do see on the screen that the playoffs have ended, where the Dallas Stars and the Providence Bruins won the Stanley Cup and the Calder Cup respectively. Now, as I was saying, when I did cut it out, my brother and I were talking and said at least it was a Western team that won. I don't know who went to the finals in that, so we will check in just a second. But I did think I simulated a couple days past, so it might take a second here. But you could probably see some of the winners as we will go check them in just a second. So the stats, let's go check those really quick. Let's just go to the playoff tree to see who went to the finals and did whatever. So it did look like it was Dallas and the New York Islanders. Let's go check. Detroit ended up losing to the Islanders, so that was kind of a good match there. And then the Rangers lost against the Islanders as well. They did look to have an interesting run, going 4-3 in both games. But then the West, you can see it there. LA losing 4-0. But good job to Dallas. I don't know who's even on your team. I know Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin, Jason Spezza, all you guys. But as we look to the offseason, we will be looking for the draft and everything else after that. So the next video you will see will be the draft, the retirements, all that other good stuff. And we definitely will be having a lot of questions marks answered in the next video. But anyway, guys, I'd like to thank Chris for being on board for the rest of the journey through the Ottawa career as the assistant GM. So he will be in majority of the videos, if not as many as he can be. I know he wanted to be in most of them, but if he's not, then that's okay. But any words from you, Chris?
I just think you'll have an interesting look here in the offseason. You'll have to wait and see what kind of moves we decide to make, who we take in the draft, what our strategies are, and stuff like that. A lot of good stuff to look forward to in the next video for sure.
Like you said, the draft coming up, making some big moves. Hopefully we'll get a good pick. I don't know where we're going to pick. But as for that, guys, that's the end of the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new to my channel. And if you haven't yet, make sure you go out and watch the rest of the videos because they are pretty interesting. But anyway, guys, that's the video, and I'll see you later.